For a long time we had shooters only revolving around the Second World War, then going on further till today and then even into the future. But today I want to talk about a setting that is most unusual, the First World War. So hello people watching for the first time because of our Japanese virtual reality sex toy video, and also I presume, goodbye, thanks for checking in. Currently World War II shooters are coming back, but that has been addressed before, not only by me, but also by big gaming magazines. Battalion 1944, hintity hint hint. What hasn't been much talked about or used as a setting for games are rather unknown wars that took place before the Second World War. Take for example the Polish-Soviet War from 1919 to 1921, in which the Soviet Union lost. But I see why these topics are rather uninteresting to a wider audience, except for a Polish one maybe. So let us focus on the elephant in the room, the First World War. I'm not going in depth how the First World War played out, cause if you paid attention in school you should probably know, or at least check out the Wikipedia page. This video focuses more on how a World War I shooter would look like if we get a good one, because there have been several attempts in varying degrees of success. First, let's see what we have in modern shooters. For this I will take into consideration more realistic games, and I will define everything as a modern shooter that ranges from around the early 1940s till the not too distant future. So Star Wars, you're out. In a modern shooter we have mobile and strong ground vehicles, as well as helicopters, planes, all of which are armed with not only large caliber guns, but also laser guided missiles and bombs. In more recent games we also take control of drones and little robots. And of course the most important thing, automatic infantry weapons. Machine guns, carbines, combat and assault rifles. They enable us to throw a bullet storm at our opponents and simply just spray enemies to death. So what do we have for World War I? First of all, most likely scrap the tanks. Yes, there were early tank designs, but if you want to stay historically correct, they don't make much of a fun battle machine, especially for tank-on-tank combat. They were slow, mostly poorly armed for tank-on-tank combat, also anti-tank weaponry, if existent, it was very basic. No Panzerschrecks, no bazookas, it's more or less an unfair fight. Also, scrap the helicopters completely. And of course, fighter planes were there, though only in the basic stage. No heavy bombers or machine cannon-packed Stukas. So what about the infantry weapons? The First World War saw rapid development in technology. Machine guns were deployed in greater numbers for the first time. Also, first machine pistols saw the day of light, like the German MP-18. Other horrible new developments were the flamethrower and poisonous gas. But still, conventional artillery and normal bolt-action rifles were the most commonly used weapon in the day. Of course, accompanied by more primitive weapons, such as bayonets, shovels and clutches for close combat, as well as trench catapults. These ancient siege weapons were used to lob hand grenades over far distances. Similar makeshift weaponry can be seen today, used by insurgents in Syria, for example. Besides old technology, old types of troops were used as well. The First World War saw the first maneuvering tank brigades, but also the last successful cavalry attack in history, launched by Australian and British troops in the Battle for Jerusalem. Another thing we have to think about are the battlefields. When thinking about the First World War, we are thinking about the horrible trench warfare. And that's certainly a huge chunk in the asset box for the World War I games. But having 15 different maps all looking alike is not good. And that's a problem that several games that made the attempt to bring us a World War I shooter have. So besides the Western Front, where were the battles? For example, in the East. The Russian front saw trench battles as well, but not as many as in the West. And if we take a look at the map, having the Allied forces in green and the Central Powers orange, you can see that there were places almost all over the world where fighting took place. Crazy thought, but why not take this game to Africa, the Middle East or the Pacific, at least for a few maps? In 1917, British troops launched an offensive on Baghdad, forcing Turkish troops to retreat. I bet you didn't know that. So why not have this in a game? That certainly would be a change of aesthetics when it comes to map design. Several World War II shooters, after the battles in Europe were done for 1,000 times, took the battles to the Pacific Islands, and it looked great. So in conclusion, we have a theme that gives us mostly old technology, for infantry battles mostly bolt action with some additional machine guns, machine pistols and flamethrowers, limited use of vehicles and cavalry in the same time frame, and seemingly endless variation of places to choose from where battles took place. From the unreal wastelands of Verdun to urban warfare to deserts and jungles. A lot to choose from. So why not have a shooter in a setting like this? Well, there are some. You have seen footage of Verdun, an indie shooter attempting to bring us a realistic World War I multiplayer shooter, but only on the Western Front so far. Why do you think we haven't seen big studios take on a World War I setting yet? Is it because bolt action focused gameplay is just too hard for the mainstream? And would you even be interested in a game like this? We want to hear your opinion in the comment section down below. It would be quite interesting to hear other people's opinion on this topic, because my personal opinion, I am very interested in gameplay like this. It's something new, even though it's over 100 years old. So see you in the comment section, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag.